Welcome to our software project presentation for CS476. This project called uBooks is created by Mykyta and I. So, it is a project that we came up with to help students like us, and a lot of the problems persist to students like us. And just for some heads up, I will be presenting some parts, and then Mykyta will also be presenting some parts of this project. So we'll switch back and forth depending on the section. So, to start off with, there's very common line issues here about buying textbooks at universities, especially the U of R. They become out of date quickly, they're expensive, and they're considered an unnecessary cost. Now, selling has a lot of other problems. Selling books is considered a hassle, and there is a buyback program at the U of R, but it only occurs several times a year, and they only offer up to 50% of the market price for used and new books. Not only that, but they can't always buy back your books because sometimes they don't need them anymore. Again, they're out of date, and they have enough of them already. The last selling problem is that textbook swap and buy or buy and sell group is not usually user-friendly. So what is uBooks? uBooks is a platform we designed to sell and/or buy used textbooks with ease. Now our motivations, I kind of touched on this earlier, but as students ourselves, we wanted to come up with an application that solves our textbook buying and selling problems and help thousands of others at the same university. My personal motivation was that I have over a dozen textbooks simply sitting at home because selling them is a hassle for me that I just don't have time for. Our biggest motivation was if we could help students like ourselves with textbooks and sell them and buy them and get back their hard-earned money into their pockets, then we're happy. Now, there's two types of users. There's a customer side and an administrator side for uBooks. So you can see our layout of what mainly they can see. The general functional requirements is they provide customers with optimized search functionality. Every user must sign in before using the application. Keep records of all customers' transactions. The application validates user input. The application will have an administrator dashboard that allows the website administrator to maintain if need be. And the application will communicate with a real-time database via HTTP requests.
Hi, my name is Mykyta, and I'm gonna continue the presentation. So, Brea has talked about the functional requirements, so let's continue on. She has mentioned before that we have two different types of users. We have customers and we have the administrators. Let's talk about the customer functional requirements. Let's pretend we have a customer. His name is Alex. First of all, Alex must sign in to be able to use the web application. Once he signs in, he can view all books in the catalog. Alex can view book details like description, author, year of publication, and so on. Since there are many books in the catalog, and Alex is only interested in a specific type of books, he can filter books by genres and price, or simply search books by author or the book title. Once he finds a book he wants, he can add it to the cart. After adding the book to the cart, Alex is able to edit the quantity of each book in the cart. He can also remove the book if he no longer wants to buy it. Once he is ready, he can click checkout and his order will be sent. In the Orders tab, Alex can change the status of his order. Alex is able to view the history of all orders he made. In the profile settings, the customer is able to edit his profile information and change his password. We have also given Alex the ability to sell his own books, which actually is the main feature of our website because the U of R doesn't have it. Alex can post his own books for sale. He can then update the book information or remove it if he no longer wants to sell it. So, that's all for the customer requirements. Let's move on to the next slide. Admin functional requirements. So, let's pretend we have an admin. His name is John. John is able to manage the book catalog, so he is able to view all books, add a new book for sale, edit information of an existing book, or delete a book from catalog. So, also, John is able to manage orders. He can view orders, confirm a pending order. He can reject a pending order if there's a mistake. Here, John is able to add a new book genre or delete an existing book genre. He can also manage customers. He can add a new customer, delete an existing customer if he doesn't like them, or update information of an existing customer. John is also able to manage the list of admins. He can add a new admin or delete an existing admin. Since our web application can only ship orders to a certain number of countries, John is able to update the list of countries we can ship orders to. John can add a new country with a phone number. He can remove an existing country from the list. He can also edit an existing country's phone code. That's it for the functional requirements. Let's move on to the website. Yay! Okay, welcome back. So now that we are in the browser, let's open up the website. It's taken us to the sign-in page. So, it looks like we have to create an account before we have to use the website. Let's do that. It looks like I'm ready to go, so let's sign up. Oh no, incorrect input. It looks like I have made a mistake. The validation form says that my password has to contain at least one uppercase, one number, and at least be 8 characters long. So I think I can fix it. Yes, I fixed it. So let's sign in. alexjones@memes.com. We are in. So, as I have promised you before, that Alex will see a book list. There are so many books, but hey, we only want to see what we want to see. So, for example, I want to see fantasy and thriller. So let's filter. Okay, so with those options in mind, I only have 2 books. So, but I want books within the price range of $5. So let's filter. Okay, as we can see, the only book I have is not in stock actually, so I'm very unlucky today. So let's actually go back and find a different book. So reset, and let's say I want to buy this book and maybe that book. So we have 2 items in a cart. Let's proceed to the cart. Okay, so we are in the cart. As you can see, I can manage the number of books. But I don't want to buy more than 1 book, because why would I? And actually, I don't want this lemon book, so let's just remove it. Lemon cake. I don't want it, so I want this book. So let's proceed to checkout. Your order is completed and pending. Yay, that's very nice. Let's actually go into orders tab and see what's happening. So it looks like my order has been submitted and it's currently in status pending. So it means that the administrator has to approve my order before I'm able to receive it. So let's go to the profile page and see if you want to edit any data here. Oh, if I made a mistake in my phone number, I can update my information here. So I can save, changes saved. Okay, so it looks like we have gone through the majority of functionality of the website. We can also sort by price, min to max. Yeah. So also the main feature of this website is that it allows the customers to sell books. So let's move on to the sell books tab. Okay, so it looks like book list is empty. It meaning that we don't have any books for sale. So let's actually add a book for sale. Okay, so it looks like I have to add a credit card because I don't have it, because otherwise how would I receive money for the book I'm selling? So that makes sense. Let's go into our profile and add a credit card number. 1, 2, 3, 4, save. Okay, changes saved. Let's go back to sell books. Okay, we are back to sell books and we want to add a new book for sale. I'm gonna quickly fill it in. Okay, looks like I'm done. So let's add the book for sale. Wow, it's here. So now that we are done with this functionality, we can sign out and let's log in as an administrator. Okay, sign in. As you can see, I can manage the admin list. I can remove an admin, I can add a new admin, and I can edit their information too. So let's actually add a new admin. Let's give our professor access to the website. Add. So we have created an admin profile for our professor. let's move on to customers. So we can manage customers, we can delete an existing customer, we can do whatever we want. So let's, for example, delete this guy because I don't like him. We deleted him, he's no longer there. This guy can also be deleted. Yes, done. Let's add a new customer actually. Okay, so let's add a new customer from here. Yay. We added a new customer, Bob Dylan. He's down here. So let's go to countries. As you can remember, when we sign in, the user is asked to select a country for a phone code. So we can add a new country. Let's move on and add a new country. Let's add, for example, say Germany. I don't know the phone code, so let's pretend it's +55. Add. Germany is in here. Cool. Book genres. I'm not gonna add a new one. There's plenty of book genres, so I'm gonna keep them the way they are, but it has the same functionality. We can edit, we can remove, we can add a new one. So, books. Remember, we have added a book as a user. So let's go down and yeah, as you can see, there's a book. Post was created by Alex Jones. Yay, it's working. We can see it. So, and here we can also delete and edit and add a new book, but we are not going to do this. But to make sure it's working, we can basically update the information of an existing book. Let's change the year, for example. It was 2019, let's change it to 2018 update. And yeah, so now year of publication is 2018. Yes, let's go to orders. Remember, this guy has recently submitted the order to us. So, we can either reject it or we can confirm it, but I don't want to reject it because he is good, so confirm order. And then, since we have gone over through the functionality of the admin, we can sign out. And let's sign in as the user we just created. Bob Dylan at uregina.ca. So, let's see if we can find the book that was posted by the other user, Alex. Yes, and just so you know, it says selling by Alex Jones, meaning that it's sold by the user. When the administrator posts a book for sale, it says selling by bookstore. So, I think at this point I have explained every bit of functionality of the website, so let's continue on with the presentation. Here is the list of the software development tools that I have used. I have used VS Code for integrated development environment. I've used Heroku for my hosting. I've used MySQL Workbench for SQL development. I've used GitHub for repository, and I use Git Bash and VS Code Terminal as a command line. I've drawn my diagrams in Draw.io. My development package managers are NPM and CocoaPods. I've tested my website in Google Chrome, and my real-time database is ClearDB, and server runtime environment I've used Node.js. This is what my developer stack looks like. It consists of 4 components: MySQL, Express.js, Angular, and Node.js, and therefore it's called mean. This is the architecture for my developer stack. As you can see, it is split in 3 tiers. We have client tier, we have business logic tier, and the database tier. As you can see, the client sends an HTTP request to Node.js. The Node.js then requests data from ClearDB database, which is then sent back to the business layer and handled by Express.js, and then is sent back to the client here. And this is how the client is able to see what's been retrieved from the database. Let's look at the UML diagrams. This is my data model. As you can see, I only have 6 tables. I have a table for users, for customers, for countries, book genres, books, and orders. We have decided to implement the observer design pattern. So we have 2 components, subject and the observer. The observer is essentially our customer that is split in 2 types, seller and buyer. So the way it works is that if a subject makes change, the change is being reflected by the observer. So for example, if an administrator decided to add a new book for sale, the customers will be able to see the book added right away without having to update the page. Alternatively, if a customer decided to delete a book for sale, the customers will be aware that the book has been deleted right away. This is the main concept of reactive programming, like Angular, is that you don't have to update the page to be able to see the change that has been made. Prototype design pattern. We have the interface, which is user class, or as you want to say, the prototype, and we also have the concrete class called customer. So the way it works is that customer is able to create an instance of itself using the attributes of user. So what it essentially allows us to do is that we are able to easily clone the prototype to create a concrete customer. This technique can also be beneficial if you wanted to add more types of users.
Next up is the behavioral pattern, visitor design pattern that we decide to implement into our software project. At the top right, we have the visitor that goes down into the element admin component, and that goes down into the concrete elements such as admin's component, admin book genres component, and so on. The accept method within each of them actually calls the current implementation based on the visitor passed. So it's the admin who tells if the countries component or the orders component is needed. The second part of this pattern here is the concrete visitor, which is the admin component visitor. And inside you can see all of the visit concrete elements. The main reason we have this pattern is that so future changes should not impact the system and loose coupling, which is what we need for our project.
Use case diagram. So we have three different actors. We have the buyer, the seller, and the administrator. User is the abstraction of buyer and seller. So this is a full use case diagram. It has too many components. I would rather talk about every actor specifically and about what they can do. Let's talk about the use cases of admin. The admin is able to manage admins, manage book catalog. He's able to manage his account. He's able to manage genres, manage customers. So what I mean by manage is that he's able to add a new entity, delete an existing entity, or update an entity in the list. User use case diagram. As I have mentioned before, user is the abstract class, meaning that customer and the seller are able to perform this action. So in manage account, we can update user information or change the password. Buyer use case diagram. So buyer is able to browse book catalog. He is able to view book details, perform an advanced search, such as sort everything by price, filter books by genre, and set price range for books. A buyer is able to manage his shopping cart. He is able to remove a book from the cart or add a new one or edit its quantity. He is able to place an order, which would require him to go to manage cart first. So, what I mean by include means that the action is required to be performed as a part of the use case. So we need to go to the cart before we place order. It's a requirement, while extend is optional. We can go to cart, we can view the books in a cart, but we don't have to remove book or add book. We can do it as an optional action. And then the buyer is able to view history of orders, and he is also able to check order status. Seller use case diagram. The seller is able to manage books for sale. He is able to remove a book. He is able to add a new one or edit its quantity.
Next up is the administrator activity diagram. There's a lot of iterative and sequential and selection control structures in this, so we're going to go through this step by step. First, to start, you'll log in as an admin, and if there is an error, it'll loop around and ask you to log in again. If there's a login success, you can view a list of admins right away. Now there's two options here at this pathway. You can make changes to the list of admins, so you can either delete existing, update admin information, or add new. You could manage them, create or delete, and then if you're satisfied or if you didn't want to do any of that, you can proceed to view list of customers. And you could either manage or create, much like the list of admins, or you could just proceed through from the list of customers. And then we go down to view list of countries and phone codes. So we can, once again, make changes to the list of these, either deleting, updating, or adding new, all managing, or we could just proceed to view list of book genres. Now, we can either make changes or continue through once again. We can either manage by deleting, updating, adding, or just go straight to view list of books. Now here we can once again make changes with the list of books and manage all of that, or we can proceed and view list of orders. Now there is two options here. You can either confirm order or reject order. Now either or will end at the end there.
Customer activity diagram. So, at the start, we must have an account. If we don't have an account, we need to sign up. At the sign up form, we need to enter all of the information. Once we enter it and click register, the information will be validated. If I made a mistake in my email or password, the validation will throw an error and get me to fill out the page again. Once registration is completed, I can move on to the login page. At the login page, my credentials will also be validated before they're entered in the system. And then if the login is successful, I'm taken to the View Books page. At the View Books page, I'm able to see the books for sale. I'm able to view each book's description and add a book to the cart. Once I'm done with the books page, I can move on to the cart page. At the cart page, I am able to view my order. I can make changes to it, such as I can change the quantity of books or delete a book. Once I'm happy with my order, I can move on to the Sell Books page. At the Sell Books page, I am able to add a book for sale. If my credit card is not entered, the website will get me to enter it first. It will validate to see if the credit card is already in use and if it's been entered correctly. If it's been entered correctly, I can successfully add the card. Once I do that, I'm able to view the list of books I have for sale. I can delete a book, update its information, or post a new book for sale. And then I can move to the orders page. If I haven't made any orders before, I will get a message saying that my order list is empty. If I have made orders before, I will be able to view the history of them and check the status of each order. Once I am done, we are going to move to the profile page. At the profile page, we are able to update our user information, such as change password, change name, phone number. The information will be validated before it's saved. If the information was entered correctly, it will be saved. And this is the end of the diagram.
Next up is the server component diagram. This diagram depicts how our server part is set up. Server.js contains the logic to connect to a real-time database, ClearDB. As you can see on the diagram, it uses logic of express.js as an external package, which is also a part of our developer stack. Server also contains the routes. As you can see, there are different routes responsible for different components of the application. Each one of these routes connects to a table in the real-time database and can modify it. Here's our client component diagram. This is the client side of our application. As we have mentioned before, there can be two types of users, admin or customer. There are admin classes that implement admin components. Admin components include the operations that can be done on the admin side, such as modify book catalog, modify and manage orders, and so on. Customer component has the same functionality. With any Angular application, we start off with index.html component that is then referred to router, which decides where to go based on URL. Next we have is the deployment diagram. This relates to the mean stack architecture. Left side you can see the client component stack. This layer controls what the user can see on the client side. The client layer connects to the business layer via HTTP IP request. The business layer connects to the actual database layer, which is of a real-time database, ClearDB, via HTTP IP request. The business layer also connects to the Heroku environment, which is our host, via HTTP IP. Host is implemented by Node.js and Heroku CLI. So we have a lot of possible feature improvements. We want to add Messenger that would allow customers to communicate amongst themselves, make the software fully asynchronous, use a more powerful hosting service, use a more powerful SQL server instead of a real-time database server, add user rating system, develop a mobile application or website, develop a lightweight version of tackle peak loads and SEO optimization. Thanks for paying attention to us. I hope it wasn't too long. We went into a lot of detail. A lot of the rest of the detail will be covered on our report. I hope you enjoyed uBooks. Please leave comments or questions below. Any suggestions are welcome. And thanks for listening to our report.